Elizabeth Olsen, and Natasha Lyonne. HisThreeDaughters. How great was that film?
Awesome.
Azazel, I'll start with you. This is so fantastically written, and the performances are so terrific. It's such a stirring drama of sisterhood, grief, and family. How did you get the idea for this story, and what made you decide that this was the right time to tell it?
Well, first off, thank you all for being here. Thank you. So nice.
Thank you, Aza. Seriously, honestly, thank you, Aza. I didn't mean
I moved back to New York. I was living here for a long time. Went back there, found it, came back in the midst of the pandemic. Obviously, like everybody across the world was facing a lot of death in this wave. But I also was really amazed at how much life I was seeing in the streets, and I found that super inspiring.
Louder!
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, I think this is better.
Yeah.
Apologies.
This is our crowd work panel.
Yeah, I feel like we should. Anyway, I just hit an age where this is happening, not only in my own life, but all around me. And I really wanted to try to figure
Very
out.
low, turn it up.
I can't do anything.
Hold it closer to your face.
Hello.
Good job.
I mean, it's right to my lips now.
Diaphragm, baby.
Anyway. Hello. Okay. All I was saying is that I hit a certain age where this experience was happening, certainly in my own life, but also around me, and I wanted to try to make some sense out of it and bring this thing of making films, which I love, into this experience that I really has been a struggle.
Did I understand that you had Elizabeth, Natasha, and Carrie in mind for these roles as you wrote it?
That's true, and Giovanna Debo as well. So I wrote very much with them in mind. I mean, like it took probably about 10 or 15 pages into writing where I realized I was really picturing them and aiming and hoping to work with them.
So perfect. So let me ask all three of you in that case, Natasha, Carrie, and Elizabeth, what was each of your reactions when you first read the script?
I was very excited, and because of my, this avatar self I've created, a la Mae West. There's so many people who do that, who write for themselves. It sometimes breaks my heart that as an actor, I'm not allowed to do, just real work. And so I was just so grateful that this was a chance to do that.
Such a great character. And Elizabeth.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes.
Step on me, baby. See, it's that personality that ruins it, and it's a crime, because, my God, do I love acting, and, I fucking hold it up hard, and just the opportunity to be still and work with serious motherfuckers is so rare for me, and it really means a lot to me.
The thing that I was very quickly taken by was the use of language. I've never read a script that starts with just a couple of monologues, and it was very clear that it was going to be shot just against a plain wall where we weren't exactly sure who she was speaking to or where they were. So it was written in this very similar way. It was written from Oz's director point of view. And I was excited to just play with language. I feel like there are certain films that don't, you almost want them to be silent and action driven and like quiet. And this is one that the rhythm, the music, the pacing is in the language. And so it was a really amazing opportunity for that. And then to work with these two women, I couldn't believe that was what was going to come together, and to work with Oz again was something he and I had been trying to figure out how to do for some time. So it was felt like, and it was just like, we gotta figure out how to shoot between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was like 17 days in one apartment in New York, and we all just made the schedule work. Like it's just things don't seem so simple right now, and it really was a gift to have this opportunity to make it.
And you worked on, was it Martha?
Wrong film. Correct for her, not for him.
What was the movie the two of you
We
worked
worked on a show called Sorry for Your Loss.
Yeah.
With Joanna Depp as well. That's on there.
An honest and fair mistake.
Project.
Carrie, what was your reaction? And let's talk about that first monologue too.
Well, I was jealous because my husband has worked with Aza twice, and I hadn't worked with him yet. And I thought, I read a lot of scripts, and I very rarely see something that is so carefully structured, that has such a clear, where the form follows the function. The sisters appear to the audience the way they're appearing to each other, and then as that relationship gets complicated, the image of the audience, the audience's relationship to the sisters also gets complicated, and so that was just so deftly done that I don't see something that thoughtful very frequently. And of course I wanted to work with Aza, and of course with Lizzie and Natasha, and the fact that they were in, and Jovan, who of course I know from season 3 of The Leftovers, season 2 of The Leftovers, when I met him when he was just a wee babe, and now he's a grown man, so that was a pleasure too.
So did the three of you spend time together, both kind of preparing for it in addition to rehearsing? How do you, because there was such a sense of intimacy, and we felt you were sisters and you'd known each other for so long. How do you achieve that?
I gotta say, I mean, Aza, it's like he saw the whole thing. And it's so special that you chose to do it in exactly this way because of hard-won losses and difficult experiences. And I think that the three of us really understood that something big was happening and immediately dropped in. We just decided to be completely vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those jobs, there's no time to waste. We did have a few days of built-in rehearsal time and camera tests and trying to figure out the angel based on all of our own rhythms and tempos, and it was kind of, it's like a musical piece the way Oz was hearing it. So it was falling, we're failing, or I was failing, and given clear different
I'd say
direction.
you were exploring.
I was exploring, and Oz was like, "That's not what I meant when I said Grateful Dead, but that's okay."
Did you sing another song?
No, I mean, it was more.
Your
more,
process was actually gorgeous.
I mean, I love a process,
fuck.
right? I love swinging. I love coming out with something with an idea, and someone being like, "Please, not that," and then being like, "Okay, that's fine. This is the time." And so we had that time, but also what Natasha was saying, like to what she was saying, is we all, by the nature of signing up for a very, 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 very low budget independent film with very little time, we all show up knowing that we're here for Aza, we're here for each other, and we have to, and for our crew, and we have to very quickly make ourselves vulnerable, honest, and just try and get to know one another really quickly, because it's really hard to do that, do this in process with such a fast film and take time with, oh gosh, something is happening with the sound. It's very hard to take time with like breaking down someone's brick walls and connecting with each other on like a human level with the time we had. And so I think that was part of the getting to know one another and figuring out our own work language, vocabulary.
I don't really do small talk anymore.
I don't know how.
Fucking A, Carrie Coon. That's
Just
true.
don't do it.
We don't do that. We do big talk.
Only big
All
talk.
of us, all three of us do big talk. And Oz is like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Small talk's miserable.
Yeah, I
I don't
hate
know if
it.
we know how.
Well, I do with a journalist.
Not me. And my God, those interviews are a mess and they reflect it. Not always. sometimes they're exactly how I meant it, and it's wild. It's revolutionary. Say more about No Small Talk, please, Carrie Coon. It makes me so happy.
I got nothing else to say.
We're gonna make you do large talk then, right here. So I was really curious too about your choice, Aza, in showing the dad at that one point. I think it's an hour and 20 minutes into it, and then in the way that you did. And it's his three daughters. It's not three sisters, obviously, taken by Jenna, but you know, just it's about their relationship to him. But you choose not to show him until when you do. So what went into that choice?
So my only rule writing was just to not go into the room. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do or go into. But when I was writing and suddenly they were bringing him out, that it worried me, but it also really interested me. And it was that thing that ultimately this story is always looming over there. That's his three daughters, and so the idea of getting a chance to hear what he had to say really, excited me, and then turned into something that felt risky in the right way, in the way that I like movies to be, where I know that it's not going to be for everybody, but who it's going to be for. It spoke so deeply to me that I hope that I believe that it would speak to others in a way that felt necessary.
Aza?
Yes, am I not
Why? Why did you know that you never wanted to go in there?
I just did not feel confident showing death in that way, in the way that I would have to be, the way that, Vortex or the
Did you know that as you started writing?
Yeah, it was really that thing that Christina says. That thing that Christina says about feeling like very lied to, the father saying feeling very lied to. That was something that when I first went through losing somebody, I just felt very, very lied to. And I felt like generally when I've seen death handled and the makeup and the coughing and all the angles, I don't believe it,
Yeah.
But I have seen it. I've seen it beautifully. It wasn't something that I felt that I wanted to try to pull off in the way that I would be comfortable with, So.
That's really interesting. One of you mentioned, I think it was Elizabeth, the musicality of the script and the dialogue, and I wondered, was there any improvisational aspect, or was it strictly on the page? You're shaking your head, Karen.
Strictly on the page. Punctuation too, I would say. I'm married to a playwright. We're gonna honor some punctuation in our house. It's very specifically written. And that's the kind of thing where if you start improvising, you just make it bad. So we weren't gonna show up and do that. And, like I say, the form follows the function, so you have this kind of onslaught at the beginning. Katie's in the onslaught for a lot of the beginning. And I love that you don't see them in the same frame even until we get to the obituary scene. And so even people say it feels like a play, but it's not a play, because you can't reveal that relationship or character on stage. You would see everybody at once. It is a film, and it's very specifically shot. And the language is also that specific.
I think it's because it's in one location.
Yes, that contains that one location certainly lends itself to that.
I don't know, I think that the compliment of the play is that it feels like it's happening in real time, which was something that was really related to the rhythm of the language. So since I was cutting as well, I always wanted lines to keep continuing. So you're saying, and then suddenly you're on the phone, and then and there's this kind of like, it keeps feeling live that's happening within the moment. But the truth is that the film is missing transitions, right? People are not opening doors and walking in. They're not starting scenes. They're not ending scenes. It's just constantly, because that's what, for me, experiencing something passing has felt that way, like that. Just suddenly we're here, suddenly we're there, suddenly we're there. So I think that's the kind of cool thing about the play idea, is that it feels live. Is what, at least the way I've been taking it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that editing, because there were a couple times where you're in one scene and then the next you're doing yoga or something like that. It's very, you don't have that. It's a very specific, precise kind of editing.
It's truly that. It was just like, I wanted to cut this by myself because I did not know how to express this type of transitions to somebody else. It was just
Have you
something
ever done that before?
definitely not this clear. The last time I did it was maybe 20 years ago, and it was really just because that's how I, was cobbling films together. But I found a great editor I've been working with for many, many years. Love him, love being in a room with him. And this particular case, I just realized there's just something that I can't put into words. The only way I could go is from kind of brain to hand and see how this works. But a lot of the cutting also was like you said, it's in the script. So it was me just trying to follow that.
Tell them about the chart. I love the chart.
Tell us about the chart.
The chart. No, it was basically I needed to. So I worked very closely with Sam Levy, who's the cinematographer, who I was a fan of. I had never worked with him before, but again, I was trying to communicate a certain rhythm of how this film should move, and to figure out how many angles that would take, because in reality they're speaking very quickly and on top of each other, but the truth is it's being even compressed even more, right? So it's going from Natasha to Lizzie and there's no actual human a gap in there. It's stuff that we're compressing. So to do that meant that I needed a certain amount of angles. So I really just gave each character color and went through the script and kind of just could feel the music, feel the rhythm. Okay, red to green to red to blue, so that I could see the notes of, that would tell me I need 4 angles because I'm trying to go blah, 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 blah. So it was...
I'm so embarrassed to say I didn't know about the chart. No,
You wanted to kill me.
I thought it was music.
It is like music.
But who is which color?
Oh. That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry, we've just done a lot of these, so I'm asking him questions I've been curious about for 2 years.
Yeah.
There was red, no, I'm just joking. I have no idea what color. I just went...
What do you mean you don't know what color? That might make the chart.
First of all, it wasn't a chart. I just liked it that we're going with chart because it sounds very technical.
I wasn't sure what to call it.
I just
Score.
I just put color over the script for each of these characters, and then and also I put a color for when I knew I was going to a wide or I was going something like that, so I could go okay.
Is it just that you don't remember who was who?
Yes. I mean, we did shoot quite a while ago. I could.
But we were red, blue, and green?
Were those the colors?
It was whatever pens I had in the house.
I always say there was nothing arbitrary about this film, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
not true.
What's happening in this moment? We're pulling at the threads.
It was up to Staples.
Sir, can we see the chart?
Let's get it up on the screen. We just get to slide 1. No?
But I mean, it was uncanny to see that thing. I just remember us in the kitchen looking through it, being, yes, it's played in the key of.
So this film really captures family dynamics, the good, the bad, the ugly, and each of the sisters' relationships, interrelationships, is so different and so unique, and the divide between them feels really wide, and then other times it shrinks up. So I'm curious, how did all of you work together to sort of build that dynamic? Again, maybe it's a musical thing, maybe it's the ebbs and flows, the closeness, the not closeness, the sentence that might bring you closer, and then the next sentence that sort of pushes you away, all of that.
It's in the script. I mean, Azazel wrote it that way.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those movies where I suppose you could go out and read a bunch of biographies to get ready, but honestly, everything you need is on the page, I found.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe to my detriment, but that's what I found.
I think also that because we were able to shoot so much of it in order, that really helped in terms of that.
Why did you shoot in order?
It's just one of the luxuries that you can do with a low budget film.
Nice.
In one location. It's one of the things that you have above over films with a lot more money.
Yeah. So that's one of the rare advantages to movies.
Oh, no, there's a lot. I think that there's a lot of it means that people are there for really good reasons. They want to make something like said, it was a contagious. We were there for specific people that want to work between Thanksgiving and Christmas and work on a film in one location. It's a very specific type of crew.
I do think, though, that also speaks to your humility as an actor. That
I
you...
don't have any humility.
No, I'm sorry. It's just, when you say it was all on the page, I do think that many people push up against, rather than saying it's in service, sort of the playwright in a way.
Yeah.
And that's actually very rare.
Thank you.
It's just
it's theater. It's theater training.
It really is, though. It's not about ego, and I think that it forces everyone to rise to your level, Carrie. Thank you.
Well, you all had very distinctive characters and could easily have become like stereotypical characters or fall into the category, but nobody did. So that's testimony, I think, to
Oh yeah, what they like. I could see it while we're shooting, but then once I was in the edit room to see how they did everything that they were saying, how they were saying the words, but also how they were looking at each other, how they were holding each other, how they were holding themselves. All that was the kind of stuff that you really see in the edit room. You go, oh, that's incredible acting. I mean, that's just amazing.
But also stereotypes and cliches are just a lack of specificity. Like that's like there are, you know, these prototypes of characters that we're so used to seeing, but anytime we associate someone with them and it creates a distance, that means there's a lack of specificity and it's just playing into an idea of something. But what Carrie was saying is like everything was specific. Including like how we were complicatedly related to one another and didn't really need to explain that to the audience, but we needed that we understood what our complicated relationships were, our timelines of, you know, those kinds of things. It was incredibly specific. There's nothing generic about this world, the texture of the apartment, the knobs on the doors, all these things that we changed with our production design. The apartment wasn't found like that. It was a fresh painted, newly renovated apartment that happened to have a strange, weird wall that Azazel loved. And so we just wanted to film there because it had this old floor plan to it, but everything else, the appliances, that was all production design.
Yeah.
And I would say that for all of us, I think we were probably a little bit spooked that it was like uptight, hippie, tough guy. And as you dug in, it was so strong, and we were so committed and vulnerable that it was not that at all. Just to this idea of stereotypes in a way, and you know, reacting to you saying the lack of specificity.
Yeah, that's a really
That scene of you guys with the little wall is my favorite scene in the movie.
You're in that scene.
Yeah, I know, but not in the second part when she gives you the tea. That's my favorite scene.
Well, speaking of that, what do you think your characters taught you, or what do you take away from this experience?
The thing I take away from this experience is the integrity with which it came together. I think Aza knew, based on other experiences, how independent films financially can fall apart, timing things is precious, that can fall apart, and Aza led with such integrity and intention every step of the way. And then, which you don't assume when you're making most independent films, you don't necessarily assume like the outcome of like what home is it going to live in, like who's going to distribute it, and how are they going to take care of it. And I think it's because of this very intentional place that Aza was making this film, and it was because of how it came together and how at no point was there a compromise or was anything arbitrary. That I think it was such we were so grateful that Netflix, not only did they create a life for this film in a very large way because they have, you know, obviously a very international platform, but they also created a film print that we got to screen in multiple cities. They had a great theatrical release for us, and they really cared for this film in a nuanced way, in the same way that we cared for it. And so it's only because, though, Aza had such integrity to begin with. And so I think that's what I take with me, because it's so hard to get a movie made right now independently. It's wildly difficult and heartbreaking, and things are falling apart 2 weeks before traveling. It just sucks. And we're all just like borrowing money and bonds, and it's all just bullshit. And it just sucks.
Wait, what do you mean more specifically? I'm so sorry. You have bonds going and borrowing cash? What's going on, Lizzie?
A lot of complicated things that we used to do that just isn't
Yo,
working.
you need some money on the side, you know what I'm saying?
We need money to make a movie. And you also need to be responsible with those budgets in order to make another one. And so I think Oz made this incredibly responsibly with integrity. And so that's the thing I'm going to talk about.
Yeah,
for too long.
but also I think that to that end, you know, everybody is wrong. People do not know what they're talking about. It's just like a bunch of recycled sentences. You know, this kind of a film is not needed right now, or why now, or just like, doesn't have big enough stars. It's like, you don't even know what you want, meaning to the buyers, until somebody makes something with integrity and sees it through. So like, that's a huge fucking lesson. I mean, here the stakes were low, but my God, is it like a real case of stick to your guns and like make what you believe in. It's so, so special, and like we're so grateful, it's so moving that people actually are watching it and care. It's beautiful.
On that note of gratitude and
Wait, can I just say, can I
yes.
just add one thing? So, in terms of stakes and that, what you just said, first off, that people connect to the film, I cannot tell you, like for me, this feels like some people bring up these people that Vincents and Blisses and people that I really knew and loved. And I feel like, wow, my dream somehow, they saw my dream and they connected to it. I can't even tell you how amazing that feels. But in terms of stakes, like I was saying this to my wife recently, Diaz, who's a producer on this, I was like, you know, that I got these actors to sum it up. Like the fact that the film came out, and I'm proud of the film, and the film, like I think it's a good film, that people are responding to it. I cannot tell you the weight off my shoulders, because to deliver, like once they said yes, I was like, oh, okay, like this is a challenge. This is like they all said yes, and this is what a blessing, and just to try to give them something that worthy, like that feels like that felt like the highest stakes for me. Thank you, Azazel.
Thank you for what you've given us.
Carrie,
This
did
is
you
a
have one too? I
beautiful
felt like
film.
you did, and I cut you
I mean, I
off.
have one. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, I would like
Do we
to
have
know.
time?
No, I think we're about done.
Let me give you mine.
Yes, you fucking take us out.
Let me bring it back to the theme of the film.
Baby, it's Carrie Coon.
I'm the middle of 5 children. I have 2 children of my own. What I realized, perhaps after I made this film, is that I try very hard not to project things onto my children. I try very hard to see them for who they are and sort of try to let it be and then encourage it. And I don't do that with my siblings. I got my mind all made up about those people, and I give them a lot of advice because I'm very successful. They should listen to me. However, I think it would be helpful to not do that. And Katie does that all the time. She's relentless. She is talking to the person she has made up, and she's not talking to the person who's in front of her, which is very immature. And that's what we do all the time. We do it politically, we do it to our families, and it makes it very hard to connect and change anything. So that's what I think we should do more.
That's great advice. So there's a lot to take from your film, and I'm getting the high sign over here, but you guys are so fascinating, I'd love to hear you talk forever, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
you.
Aza, Natasha.
Thank you.